Thank you very much. I can see our responses. And okay, I'd like us to do a little task right now, which is to go to the Menthali community page and on to our status, to our WhatsApp groups, just to inform them that we are live. Just type we're alive, we're alive, we're alive, we're alive, we're alive. I'm expecting our messages on the group. Just type we're alive, we're alive, we're alive, just to let people know that we've started today's session and this is not one thing they should miss. Let's do that quickly, 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 quickly. We are live, we're live. I can see some of our responses on the group. Thank you very much. You can send it to your WhatsApp status, to your page, your TikTok, your Instagram. Tell them that day 2 is here and this is one thing they should not miss. I can see our messages. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If I get to send yours, you can still do that. You can still do that. While we are doing that, I'd like us to do a little bit of introduction today. I know we did some today, but then this is a new day and we can still do it again. But before I call on anyone, I would like to apologize because our compare tonight is not available and I'm taking in the role on our behalf. I am Precious Orekoya, and once again, I'm excited to be doing this with all of you. So quickly, I'd like us to introduce yourself in the chat box and just say your name, where you're calling from, and what you're looking forward to learning tonight. Your name, where you're calling from, and what you look forward to learn tonight. This is day 2, like I said, and this is one thing you should be excited for. In fact, let me change my mind. I like us to speak. I want to hear our beautiful voices. I want to hear you speak. Just your name, where you're calling from, and what you're looking forward to learning. Please, let's do that quickly. I like to hear our voices. And I don't want to call on anybody this evening. I just want you to volunteer yourself and speak up. Okay. Anyone willing to do that, just raise your hands and I'll call on you, and then you just say your name, where you're calling from, and what you look forward to learning tonight. Let's do that. All right, I think that at this point I might need to call on people because you are not giving me the responses I want, and we need that tonight. We need that tonight. Olaoluwa Adetunji, if you can hear me, can you unmute your mic and say your name, where you're calling from, and what you look forward to learning tonight? Trust me, our speaker is ready and ready to serve us hot tonight. So in that motion too, I want us to introduce ourselves. So Olaoluwa Adetunji, let's hear from you quickly. If you can hear me, just unmute your mic and introduce yourself. Are you on this call? Mm, I guess not. I guess not. Saidat Sharif, if you can hear me, can you unmute your mic and say your name, where you're calling from, and what you look forward to learning tonight?
Good evening, everyone. I am
Good
Sherif
evening.
Saidat. I'm
Good
calling
evening.
from Oyo State, Ogbomoso to be precise, and I
Mm,
look forward to learning how to overcome financial stress and manage my finances better, and also how to manage debt if peradventure or if I in case we never can tell.
All right, that's so
Hello, can you
beautiful.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. That's so beautiful. It's a pleasure to meet you, say that. And I'm very sure that by the end of today's session, you will get that. You will learn how to take charge of your finances as we ought to. It's so lovely to meet you, say that. Thank you very much. Who else? Who else? Let's see. Adeze. Adeze, if you can hear me, can you unmute your mic and introduce yourself? Adeze Uzo Ezi, if I'm correct. All
Hello, good
right.
evening. Good evening, person.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
My name is Adeze Uzoize.
Easy. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. I'm calling from Lagos, and my expectation for tonight's program is to know how to manage my finances better and to relieve financial stress as much as possible.
I love that. I love that. It's such a pleasure to meet you tonight at Daisy. And trust me, by the end of the session, you are going to get just that. Thank you for your response. One more person, one more person. Let's meet you. Let's meet you. Who is willing to volunteer, or do I do the normal calling of people? Just raise your hands. All right. Lawrence is raising up his hand. You can go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Mm, Thank you for having me here. My name is Kelvin Lawrence. I'm currently a mechatronics student of Federal University of Technology, Owerri.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm a public speaker.
Mm,
Yeah, amongst many other things, I'm a forex trader and I'm a gadgets dealer.
mm.
Yeah, so I happened to be invited by Mrs. Tuburi, who was our speaker yesterday, and I really got a
Wow.
lovely section.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I'm here again today. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow, wow. That's so beautiful. It's so lovely to meet you, Lawrence. And I'm super excited and happy that you joined today's call, even when Mrs. Tobore's session was over. That's so beautiful. It's so lovely to meet you, Lawrence. It's so lovely to meet you. Now we're going to talk about what we learned yesterday. I know that some of us were here yesterday, and I really love that you share some of the things that really stood out for you from Mrs. Tobore's session yesterday. Let's just recap refresh our memories before we move and dive into today's session. And I really love that you start with that, Lawrence. You said that you attended the event yesterday because of the invite from her, and I'm very sure that you learned a lot of things yesterday. So, what are the things that stood out for you? Because she shook a lot of tables. If you agree with me, kindly send in your emojis. She shook the tables. Even my table was shaking so hard. If you agree with me, send in your emojis, please. Please send in your emojis. All right. So, Lawrence, can you share some of the things that stood out for you from our session yesterday?
Okay, so thank you for having me once more. Okay, Mrs. Tobore, she has been one of my financial advisor for a while, though. So her sessions are always groundbreaking, always. But
Hmm.
yesterday, I learned a lot about budgeting.
Hmm.
Yeah, because we have been dealing on budgeting for a while, but she didn't really go deep on it. So she's not really my paid financial advisor. She has just been helping me throughout the surface. But I learned a lot on budgeting. So I've started digging deep into the skills of budgeting. And I'm trying to save now because I need to save for retirement.
That's so lovely. Thank you for your response, Lawrence. One
Yeah,
thing
thank
that
you.
really stood out for me from that budgeting session of ours is that when you budget for something, you're able to track your expenses towards that. You're able to say, this is where my money is going. This is how much I want to spend to this. And you're really wise with your spending. Thank you very much, Lawrence. Thank you for your response. Who else wants to go ahead and share their what's that for them? Who? You can raise your hand if you would like to. All right, since no one is raising up his or her hand, then I will have to call on somebody. Let's see. I'm going to call on someone. Mary, were you on the call yesterday? Mhm. All right, I guess she's not here. Then I'll just call on someone else. Phoebe Olalere, were you on the call yesterday? Can you share some of the things that stood out for you from the session yesterday?
Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
I joined the call late last night. So
Yeah, well, what are some of the things that you picked from our session, even though you joined a little late? I'm assuming that even though you joined that late, you still picked something, right? Can you share with us? All right. I guess she's not here. For me personally, she talked about saving yesterday, and most of us we save. Yes, some of us save, but we don't really have a goal. So saving towards a goal, she mentioned it, and it kind of stood up for me because we save, but we don't have a goal particularly. You have to have a goal for your savings. You're saving for your retirement, you're saving for this particular thing, and you're saving for your future. So it was that aspect of saving that stood out for me. And I'm learning to save more. In fact, today I especially took out my time to draft out my savings plan. You know that I'm really, really serious about this. If you started taking steps towards what she said yesterday, can you send in your emojis? Send in your emojis if you have taken at least one step to what she said and mentioned yesterday, because she said a lot of things. She shook a lot of tables, but at the end of it all, she told us specifically that all of this will not be useful if we don't apply it. All of this will not be important if we don't take action. So if you've taken any action, no matter how little today, can you send in your emojis? Just send in your emojis. Or am I alone in this? Am I alone in this? No one. I'm not seeing any emojis. All right, I can see Esther Emmanuel. Thank you for your responses. Chevrolet too, yes. And yes, I thank you for your responses. Thank you. I thought I was alone. Who else? Who else is willing to share what stood out for them in yesterday's session? Do you want me to call on somebody? All right, I think I'll do that. Let's see. Angie Sam. Yes. Can you unmute your mic and share one thing that stood out for you from our session yesterday? Can you hear me? I guess not. All right, today is day 2, and without wasting much of our time, I want us to go into today's session officially, and I'm going to introduce our speaker right now. I want us with a clapping ovation as I read our bow. I want us to send in our emojis, send in your fire emojis in the comments, and let's keep this space up. I can't see our emojis. Please start sending them. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your responses. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Alexander Comfort is a practicing counseling psychologist specializing in clinical and mental health counseling with added depth in psychopharmacology. Driven by a strong commitment to advancing mental health awareness and education, she has spearheaded initiatives across Nigeria, bringing critical mental health discussions from the hospital to workplaces, schools, and communities. She tells mental health stories the African way, relatable and culturally grounded, and also deeply human. Our mission is clear: to inspire a widespread shift towards proactive mental practices, equipping individuals and organizations with tools to navigate mental health challenges or concerns, preventing triggers, and cultivate holistic well-being. Her impact spans across multiple platforms and audiences. Military resilience. She led the Makurdi Sane campaign, promoting adaptive coping strategies amongst military personnel and strengthening mental health support in the armed forces. Conferences and advocacy. She convened the Akwa Ibom State Mental Health Awareness Conference and the annual Port Harcourt Sane Conference, fostering dialogue on workplace and community mental health. Corporate engagement. She delivered trainings and facilitated well-being discussions for organizations including the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Chartered Institute of Personal Management, CIPM, Olam Agri Nigeria, Libroad Energy Services, First Independent Power Limited, Stakeholders Democracy Network, among others. Beyond counseling, Alexander holds a degree in human physiology and is certified in risk and trauma management in resettlement and displacement. She currently serves as the River State coordinator for the Global Crusaders Against Narcotics and Alcoholic Abuse, contributing to public health initiatives that address substance use. Ladies and gentlemen, with a clapping ovation, let's make welcome Alexander Comfort.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Ma'am Precious, Orekoya. Good evening, Ma'am Adunzi. I think I should just call the names I can see on the screen. Good evening, Mr. Lawrence. Good evening, my sponsor, Semilore. Good evening, the Royal Lady. Good evening, Ade Fioye Praise. Sorry if I hope I don't spell your name. And then good evening, 20 others. Good evening, everybody. So, before I continue the conversation, I would love to appreciate everyone on the call for joining and then for inviting others to join. You can as well just, invite other people that are not here that you feel they need to be part of this meeting to join us. And to thank you, the entire team of Menthali, for having. I deeply appreciate. I do not take it lightly at all. So without wasting much of our time, so at any point, please let me know so I don't miss it. Can you see my screen? Moderator, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay. So today we'll be looking at smart ways to handle debt and overcome financial stress, the mental health perspective. So already you know my name. My name is Alexander Comfort. And so before we continue, I'd love to share a little story. There was one time someone was asking me if there's something like SAPA-induced depression, and then everybody busted out, laughing. But then in the course of my practice, I've come to understand that a lot of persons that are actually, into debts, either good or bad, because I know financial experts will say there's good debts and then there's bad debts. Like probably you borrowed the money to treat your sick mom, or you borrowed the money to do a surgery, or you borrowed the money to go to school and all of that. So the financial experts, anything you borrow money to do for good. I think there's some persons that are actually chronic borrowers, not because they are actually squandering the money, but because they are using it for business, using it for one startup, one program or the other, but they eventually pay back. I think that's the difference between people that are deeply into debt, and then people that are using it for business, the good debt and the bad debt. So on this story, I don't know if you've ever borrowed money from the likes of them Lapo, Pampe, Kuda, all of those plenty, fintech organizations. You would agree with me that there are some fintech organizations that if you borrow from, and then the time you tell them you're going to pay, you don't pay. They'll just make one magazine for you. In your life, you've never appeared in any magazine. But once you borrow and then you exceed the time you're supposed to pay, they'll just produce a magazine for you and put your head and say wanted for killing 55 persons in Ghana, or wanted for killing 15 persons in Ugoli, or wanted for selling human parts in Port Harcourt and all of that. I don't even know how they, get people's contacts. So they'll just split the message all through your contacts, and then you just see your face. Your father will bring out the poster and like, what happened and all of that. So I had this client. I would share two scenarios. This client who a lot of things, was happening in her family, and so she couldn't keep up. So she borrowed, to still keep up in school and all. So it got to the time. Of course, there's always interest. It got to the time and she couldn't pay. So they started sending those messages to all the people she know. She was actually very depressed. She was down. She was becoming, in fact, she became very suicidal. Like she really wanted to, end her life. So because to her, the embarrassment was too much. Everybody in her church now knew she's owing money, and all of that. And so if somebody comes, walk up to you and said, I think I'm tired of this life and I want to end it. And you're like, end it when your life is perfect. You have gotten an admission, you have done this, start listing all of the things they feel is perfect for you. And then at the end of the day, they ask you, okay, what's the problem? And then they start, explaining that they borrowed money and then they couldn't pay. And then the other scenario, somebody actually signed as a guarantor to somebody that took a debt. I don't know if you get the point. Semi-Lauren took a debt and called me to come and guarantee for her, like a guarantor. And so I don't know what she wanted to use the money for. Say she borrowed 250. Please, she did not borrow any money, or she's not in any debt. I'm just giving an example. And then I signed for her. She takes the money. Time passed. She no longer takes her call. She doesn't return her calls. All of a sudden, she has relocated from where she originally was, residing, and all of those plenty news. And then now the police and the legal team is after me because I signed the guarantor's form. So me, I don't even know what they use the money for. But now I'm depressed because two bodies, both the police and legal parties, are chasing after me to pay the debts that I know nothing about. So in the course of this conversation, I'll be sharing mental health perspective as to what debt is all about. And aside from today's conversation on finance, I would employ everyone on this call and persons that will be joining later to also ask questions at the end of the day about mental health, clinical concerns, subclinical concerns, this finance topic that we are talking about, and then generally, basically anything you want to talk about, from schizophrenia to depression to anxiety and all. Okay, so a quick one. Studies show that 4 out of 5 people experiencing chronic debt report significant symptoms of stress, anxiety, or depression. I've actually given 2 examples. And so you could see the stress, the level of stress where everybody, let's say you have 1,000 contacts, and then out of the 1,000 contacts, 50% are people you hold in high esteem. And then all your faces everywhere that you are owing for killing 20 people. And then everybody's buzzing your phone, trying to call you. What happened? How did you do this? How did you do that? Who asked you to borrow this and all of that? The stress, the anxiety, the depression. How many persons can you explain to? How many persons can you not explain to? At some point, it feels like mockery because everybody's calling you, and then maybe you've maintained a certain level of steez, and all of a sudden your steez has run from 100 to 0 in the space of 2 weeks because you have to explain what you used the money for and why you borrowed in the first place, and not call family, even when you knew that family cannot provide that money. So debt is not just about money, it's about mental health, productivity, and even physical health. I'll take that again. Debt is not just about money, it's about mental health, productivity, and even physical health. So once you are in debt, and worst of all, you cannot repay, your mental health is affected, your productivity is affected, and even your physical health is affected. There's something I read, one meme I read one of the days, the person said, thinking no gree me sleep, hungry no gree me think. So imagine when you are actually in debt and there's no way, in fact, there's no miracle that wants to happen that you pay before the stipulated time. And so you're thinking, you cannot sleep. In turn, this you not sleeping affects your productivity at work. And then you not sleeping also affects your physical health because you come down feeling very tired, low energy, and all of that. And then it affects your mental health. Let's make progress. And so for the goal of this session, we'll be exploring the psychological impact of death. I think I've already started talking about it. We'll share proven financial strategies for managing and reducing debt. And we'll teach mental health coping skills to reduce financial stress. And then we'll all together inspire ourselves towards long-term mindsets, shifts for financial and emotional freedom. And then we'll have the Q&A session. Remember I said, when it gets to the Q&A session, you could push yourself further away from the finance we're discussing and still ask everything clinically related to mental health and otherwise. All right, the psychology of debt and financial stress. So, Madam Moderator, if at any point you stop hearing me, please do well to unmute and let me know because I'm concentrating on the screen I'm sharing. All right, the psychology of debt and financial stress. So, debt as a stressor. Debt as a stressor. So, if you want to ask what are stressors, stressors could be internal, stressors could be external. You know, stressors are more like what causes stress. So triggers debt as a stressor because debt triggers the fight or flight response. You are always on the edge, hyper vigilant. If you even know the face, I don't know how people get so comfortable owing people or being in debt and then passing their face, because for someone like me, if I'm in debt and I just see your face, in fact, I just pass your door, you've not even called me, my heart will reach my forehead because I would just feel like maybe you will come out, and shout at me, embarrass me, or something. So triggers the debt triggers the fight or flight response, leading to constant worry, increased level of cortisol, which in turn leads to sleep problems, irritability, and then weakened immunity. It weakens your immunity. Now, see, just one thing, just one debt that we're talking about. We've looked at constant worry, increased cortisol levels, you have sleep problems, irritability, and weakened immunity. Now let's move from the sleep problems to irritability and then weakened immunity. If you attend a video like on a Friday, like today, if you're going for a video, and then that video started from 9 p.m. and then ran all through to 6 a.m. And so you didn't even have time to sleep in between. And then you had to resume work on Saturday by 8. That means you clearly did not have any rest. Now, how do you usually feel on that day? Like, how do you carry out your work on that day? You're either very sluggish, you're either falling asleep, back and forth. You're sleeping 1 minute, they're waking you the next minute and asking you what the problem is. And then at some point, you can easily just flare up to anybody that tries to wake you up. Now, imagine you not sleeping on Friday. That's just you not sleeping on Friday. Now, imagine not sleeping on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's 1 week. Imagine the level of irritability you would be exhibiting. And then not to talk about your physical health, that is leading to weakened immunity. So let's look at it this other way. If you're owing someone 50,000 naira, for example, you're in debt of 50,000. And so your salary is about 15,000 or thereabouts, and you pay transport, you feed, and all of the likes. How do you really eat what will add, to your health? What will add up? It's clearly not possible because you'll be saving and pressing your neck to ensure that you complete that 50K before the time you were supposed to, pay the money. So that alone can affect your physical health, can affect your immune system because you're no longer consuming or eating what you're supposed to eat. You're now trying to, manage portions. Normally you might want to buy fruit on the road. Now you will not buy because fruit is more expensive, and then you have to save that money to make up for 50K. Now, debt also creates anticipatory anxiety, worrying about bills even before they arrive. When you say anticipatory anxiety, it's as simple as the English word there. Nothing has happened yet. You just keep thinking about it. What will happen? How will it happen? Well, if it happens, how will I handle it? So worrying about bills even before they arrive. So debt as a stressor, we've talked about triggers, can trigger sleep problems, increase cortisol level, irritability, weaken immunity, and also create anticipatory anxiety. The cognitive impact of debt is mental health bandwidth tax. So studies show financial worries reduce working memory and decision-making capacity. If you followed us from when we started the conversation, you will see all of the examples, clearly stated in between and interwoven in the conversation. The studies show that financial worries reduce working memory and decision-making capacity. I said I saw something in him. I said, thinking no gree me sleep, hungry no gree me think. And so when you're thinking about a particular amount you're owing somebody or the debt you're owing, probably it's cumbersome. How will you even think? No, you ask yourself, how will you think? How will you walk? How will you be able to make certain decisions? Because you'll be constrained. Your mind, your focus, your consciousness will always be on that money and the deadline. And so people in debt often delay decisions, procrastinate, or make impulsive choices. I'll take that again. People in debt often delay decisions, procrastinate, or make impulsive choices. I tried to make this slide as explanatory as possible. So once you read it, you get to understand. You can even think about it as I read it out or as you see it, you think about it. You just say, I had this friend that was one time in debt. I knew how he felt or she felt, or I knew how I felt when I was in debt. The emotional impact of debt, shame and guilt. You keep feeling like a failure or as though you are irresponsible. I said that when I was sharing this story. Imagine your pastor reaching out to you that he heard that you beheaded 7 people at Omoko. How? Like a pastor didn't even know that it's someone from Pampe or someone from Lapo or someone from one microfinance calling to say or texting him to say you killed somebody. And then you start explaining, I took a loan, I am owing to so and so, that's why they did that and all of that. And then I said, if you're somebody that already has his T's at 100 level, your T's will reduce from 100 to 0. In fact, minus 0 if there's anything like that. So there's this sense of shame and guilt. That's the emotional impact of debt. Another emotional impact of debt is secrecy. You start hiding debt from family members, which leads to isolation and relationship conflict. You start hiding debt from family
Excuse me.
members. Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, your slides are not moving. They're still on the first page.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And then I've moved like how many times? All right. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay. Where can you see anyone now?
Yes, yes.
Which one are you seeing now?
Psychology of debt. Yes.
Emotional impacts. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just leave it this way. So once I move, it moves alongside instead of the full screen.
All right. Thank you, Ma.
Okay, thank you. So emotional impact, I've talked about shame and guilt, feeling like a failure or being irresponsible. Of course, people clearly, even when you have 1,000 reasons as to why you took the debt, people always have things to say that makes it look like you weren't supposed to take it in the first place. And then on secrecy, we're talking about the emotional impact of debt. It impacts us. We start keeping secrets, hiding debt from family, which in turn leads to isolation and relationship conflict. Because imagine the debts that you took and your family is now aware, and they don't even know where you put the debt into. And the worst part of debt you can take is debt to buy clothes or debt to buy wig or buy phone, or travel to where you're not supposed to travel to. Maybe you want to just travel for vacation, not like you're going for educational purposes. When I started, I said some financial experts will say there's good debt and then there's bad debts, right? So what they categorize as good debt is you're using it for maybe self-development, maybe contingencies, emergencies, health related concerns, businesses, and all you categorize as good debt. But then bad debt, things that are of less priority, particularly at the time being. So you're hiding from your family when Kuda is on your neck, Pampe is on your neck, everybody's calling you here and there. They are threatening you, they're telling you they will take you to one Babalawo, they will kill you before daybreak. you start thinking, and then that leads to isolation. Once you start thinking, you realize that you cannot even relate to anybody, because you start imagining, why is everybody laughing when me I'm frowning? So everybody's supposed to be frowning when I'm laughing, and when I'm frowning rather, instead of laughing. And so that would then pull a strain on your relationship. Relationship, I mean, it's not just relationship man and woman. Relationship, your friendship, your family relationship. Then if you have a mutual kind of relationship with, maybe you have a spouse or something, and then also your work relationship, I mean, with your work people. Then another emotional impact of debt is hopelessness. So long-term debts can fuel or may fuel depression and suicidal ideation. If you joined earlier when I started, I shared the story of someone who was in debt, and then she became very suicidal, and then the end product of depression is usually suicide. The end product of depression is usually suicide. I mean, severe depression is suicidal ideation. And so some people go as far as actually attempting, suicide. So hopelessness. Once you get to the point where you say, yeah, I'm hopeless. I don't think I can pay this debt. They should just do whatever they want to do and all. And so at that point, you realize that you're gradually sliding into depression. And so, like I said, the end point of depression is suicidal ideation. Now, the confusing or conflicting part, if I move to the next slide, is sometimes when you try to seek help from professionals that you're depressed, or you try to reach out to someone and say you're depressed, people don't immediately try to understand why. They try to solve, or to, I don't want to use the word cure, they try to treat the depression or the suicidal ideation without the root cause. And then I also made a jest about we arguing about something called SAPA-induced depression, So if the person doesn't, because time and time again, I've seen people come to say, I'm depressed, I'm this, I'm that, and then you try to run an assessment, all the things they are telling you are just shallow. They've not really touched the main problem. And so sometimes if you maybe saw a psychiatrist, you realize that, oh, you've been placed on drugs, or you're on admission, and all that's its treatment, but it's not actually addressing the main cause of your depression or suicidal ideation, which is debt. The only thing that can bring out of that depression is if the doctor just say, I will pay the money. Hey, that depression will just clear immediately. Are we together? Okay, so the next is behavioral patterns. The next we are considering is behavioral patterns, how debt influences our behavioral patterns. So the first behavioral pattern there is avoidance. You start ignoring bills, paying late fees, incurring more debt, and then at the end, increasing your stress level. Let's give practical example to that. So late fees, more debt. This is like a circle. So you're owing, let's say you're owing 50,000, and then the person is on your neck to pay, and so you need to pay. You borrow 70,000 to pay the 50,000, then use 20,000 to guide. I don't know if you get my point. Please try and understand. I believe it's all young persons on this call. So you're owing 50,000. The person is all over you. Guy, pay my money, yeah, pay. I don't know. If you borrow from the bank or any fintech, they are sending you mails, sending you messages, tagging you on social media, and all. You now borrowed 70K to pay 50K and use 20K to guide. After 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, the person you borrowed 70K from is now on your neck. You now borrow 100K to pay 70K and use 30K to sustain. I get it. That's how people incur more debts to themselves, and then in turn increases the level of stress. And then funny enough, it gets to a point where you don't even see where to borrow to pay anybody. So you now have tons and tons and tons of debt waiting for you, to cover. Another way debts affect our behaviors is overwork. It leads to overwork. Overwork because if your current job cannot cover up for that debt, you have to do like 2, 3, 4 side hustles plus your current job, the job you were employed for. So you have to do 2, 3, 4. Your regular 9 to 5, you're already tired and complaining. You are tired, complaining, this is not treating me well. Then you now add 2 and 3. You are now overworking yourself, overstretching. Some people go as far as working, they will end their work at, by 5 p.m. and then resume another work by 6 and then end it by 3 a.m. in the morning, and then say, okay, I will sleep small. 7 a.m. they are already on the run. You are ending up, completely causing a disaster for yourself mentally and physically. And of course, overwork leads to burnout. What is burnout? We've been shouting on social media. Overwork leads to burnout. And of course, an offshoot or the GPS, the fastest GPS, to health decline that is work related is burnout. Another way debt can affect our behaviors as women is we end up picking maladaptive coping mechanisms. When you say maladaptive coping mechanisms, we just mean that they are unhealthy coping mechanisms. When I talk about coping mechanisms, I usually say all of us, including myself, have coping mechanisms. So the question is my coping mechanism healthy or unhealthy? Is it adaptive or maladaptive? And so when we talk about maladaptive coping mechanisms, we now look at substance use, overeating, compulsive shopping, and the likes. And let me hammer more on substance use. If you ask some people that are deep into substance use right now, they will tell you that at some point it was a coping mechanism for them. Substance use could be maybe using of substances like cocaine, heroin, loud, Arizona, Colorado, mention them. It could also be the use of certain alcohols. It could also be the use of mixtures. They have a lot of mixtures now, the one they call monkey tail and the siblings. So all of those things, it doesn't solve your problem. You drinking yourself to stupor, to sleep and wake up the next, it doesn't solve you. Anytime you wake up, you will come and meet that 50K or 100K or 1 million or 3 million that you're owing. Anytime you wake up, you come and meet it. So picking maladaptive coping skills or coping mechanisms is one way debt affects our behavioral patterns. And so understanding these patterns help us not just to attack debt itself, but also the stress it creates. Okay, so now quickly, let's look at smart ways to handle debt. Smart ways to handle debt. Moderator, please, are you still with me or you left me?
I'm still with you,
Was
ma'am.
okay, so smart ways to handle debt. The first way I think we should be able to handle our debts is by facing the numbers. By facing the numbers. There is nowhere you want to hide though. It has happened, so you have to face the numbers. So face the numbers, do a debt audit, list all the people you are owing and how much you're owing them, and then the supposed interest rates and deadline. It's listed there. I said I made the slides to be self-explanatory, so when you have access to it, you'll be able to read and understand for yourself. So face the numbers, do a debt audit, list all the people you're owing, list how much you're owing them, attach the interest rates to them. What are the interest rates? 7%, 10%. Have they compounded over time? Did they say you will be paying 3% every month? And then at the end of the day, you've passed 1 year already. I think if you take a loan from banks or fintech company, when it exceeds the time you're supposed to pay the increased rates, the interest rate or so. So write the interest rates, the deadline, and minimum payments. Reason why you're doing that is because knowledge reduces fear and brings clarity. So you're not running away from it. You're trying to face the numbers and then look for how you can make headway from there. The step 2 is prioritize payments. So you can use 2 methods. You can either use the snowball method or the avalanche method. So the snowball method is pay off smallest debts first. For example, let's say I drew a debt list. Say I'm currently a debtor, for example, and then I drew a debt list and I said I'm owing Titilayo 5,000. I'm owing Precious 1 million. I'm owing Topore 6 million. I'm owing people should give me name. I'm owing Victory. How much now? 20,000. I just list all of them. So for the snowball method is saying pay off the smallest debt first. That way you build momentum and motivation. If I now pick, oh, I'm only just in 5,000, I'm only just 4,000. Okay, I have 15,000. Let me pay the 5,000 and the 4,000 first. That way you motivate. Thank God I've cleared this one. There's that feel good will return back to you. The brain knows when you're doing well. So somehow you just feel a little lighter and a bit happy that you've cleared that part. And then for the avalanche method, the avalanche is saying pay off highest interest debts first. That way you save money long term. However, the payment style or payment method you choose to use is solely dependent on you. Would you rather use the snowball method depending on how fast and how well you get income? Or will you rather use the avalanche method so you pay off highest interest debts first and then save money long term? Like I said, that's solely dependent on you. That's solely rather dependent on you, depending on how much or how well you get your income. The next step is negotiating with creditors. Negotiating with creditors. Remember, we are looking at smart ways to handle debt. Smart ways to handle debt. I said the first one, face the numbers. You're not going anywhere. You're not running. That's happened is that it has happened. So you do a debt audit, list your debtors, the interest rates, the deadlines, and the minimum payments you can give per time. The following step, I said, prioritize payments. You can use any of the payments method here. You can use snowball, that's paying off smallest debts first. That way you build momentum and motivation. Or you use the avalanche method where you pay off highest interest debt first. That way you save money long term. And then the third way I'm saying negotiate with creditors. So I shared one story. I think the second scenario I shared about you being a guarantor for someone that took a loan. And then all of a sudden, the person that took the loan has disappeared into thin air. Person is not taking calls. Person is not nowhere to be found. All of a sudden, they've disappeared from the state. All their family members, nobody will even answer. So negotiate with creditors, call the banks, the lenders, service providers, request lower interest rates. Everything is negotiable. Request, tell them, okay, I thought I was going to, I thought this business was going to flourish, but at this point, this is where it is. Let me even advise you, banks that I know, if they give you money to start a business, let's say 30 million to start a business, and then the business was supposed to flourish in 2 years, all of a sudden in 1 year and 6 months, it's crashing down. The banks that I know will tell you to use another, like get another loan, so you leverage on the next loan to boost your business and then you pay. Please don't fall into that trap. Get to see a financial advisor to tell you what to do. So call banks, lenders, service providers, request lower interest rates, longer repayment periods, or loan restructuring. Many creditors prefer negotiation over default. The normal human default is once you're owing somebody and then you cannot pay, you start hiding, dodging, not taking calls, blocking them, and I think that's where the problem comes in. But then when you reach out to the person, the bank, the lender, the fintech company, the individual, whoever you go and say, Baba, I really wanted to pay this money by March, but with the way it is going, I cannot meet up. Can I pay you in bits? Instead of me to do 1 million straight, can I do 200K? Can I do 400K? Can I do as it comes? The person might say, okay, do it. The person might say, I don't want to storage money. Okay, instead of paying it to my assets, pay it to my Echo Bank, so that way it is there till it's complete. I don't know if you get my point. So negotiate the creditors. Nobody's going to bite you. Negotiate with them instead of running away and putting yourself on harm's way. Step 4, restructure spending with a budget. Restructure spending with a budget. If I want to add, I would say cut long throats, like an African, cut long throats. So introduce 5-30-20 rule. I didn't want to add others. Others could be depending on the level of or the level of debt you are in. You can even do 30-50 or 30-30, what's it called now, 40, depending on the level of debt you are in. Somebody that is owing 50,000 would not save as much as the person that is owing 50 million. That maybe their income is on the same level. So introduce 50-30-20 rule. So 50% for your needs. Your needs, we understand psychologically to be your rent, your food, and your immediate bills. Your immediate bills can be for lighting, for data, depending on how it supports your work. For data, for lighting, for females, for pads. Of course, every month, even if you are owing, you still see period for pads, and then some other thing. What are your priorities to you? Then 30% wants, entertainment, lifestyle. I saw this nice place. Let's go and eat their rice. It's nice. 30% for wants. then 20% for savings and debt repayment. And I said, depending on the level of debt you are in, you can restructure to be 30, 30, 40, or 50, 50, and fling away the ones, the entertainment and lifestyle. Don't go for any festival. Don't go for any karaoke. Don't go for any enjoyment. There's no lifestyle anywhere. Just ensure that you just face your needs and your savings, depending on the level of debt you are in. Then step 5, build an emergency buffer. Let's not say because you want to pay debt, because you want to pay debt, because you want to pay debt. And so you don't cover what needs to be covered, particularly your needs. I was discussing with someone last week and I said, each time I don't have plenty money, I have malaria. And then we started laughing because I just noticed that you'll be very okay until once the money in your account has reduced, you start feeling feverish. Like it starts saying, "Oh," so about it, and then we joke. Yes, it's a joke because so I mentioned rent, food bills. As I was talking, I didn't mention to like just have schizophrenia, you just run mad. It's not their business. Anytime you run your mad, finish and come back, you come and pay the debt. So build an image of your debt. Then number 6, and I think Topara yesterday, the lady that spoke to us, the financial expert rather, and all of that. So you could reach out to them, financial advisors, to tell you what's best. I think the challenge we have with seeking professional help is, imagine you reaching out to Topara and she's telling you that her session is 250,000. And then the reason why you need the session is because you're owing 50,000. Okay. So seek professional help regardless. Whichever way it means, you can use the church, you can use the mosque, you can even use your shrine or your cults. Why I'm saying this is because we underutilize community spaces. For example, in your church or in your mosque or in your shrine or in your cult group, there must be an accountant, someone that is an accountant, an economics practitioner, whatever. There should be that one person that is doing something with finance and money. And so if you cannot reach out to professionals you see on social media, or you read big profiles and bios about, you can just reach out to them after church and say, sir, please, I've been wanting to see, there's something I want to share with you. Immediately you say there's something I want to share with you, because they're your church member and you've not been disturbing them, they give you audience. And 10 minutes, 20 minutes you discuss with them, there will be something that they will add to your knowledge that can help you, or you clearly spill all of what you have and let them help you the way they want. So learn to utilize communities, even in the mosque, even in your cult group. Of course, you will not join cult group that they are not knowledgeable. So certainly there will be someone that knows much about finances or that can sponsor you to reach out for professional help. Okay, mental health strategies to overcome financial stress. Mental health strategies to overcome financial stress. All those other things we are speaking is actually English. Now, this one too is another English, but then to help us understand, how it flows. So I said introduce the CALM framework. Introduce the CALM framework. What's the CALM framework? We use I use an acronym CAL and M. That's CALM. So the first C there is saying check your thoughts. Check your thoughts. Cognitive restructuring. Replace I will never get out of this with I can take small steps today. That's add up. So when you go for therapy, you hear CBT, CBT, CBT. CBT is basically cognitive restructuring. And that's why sometimes you see your therapist say, go and do affirmations. So in places where you say nobody can ever love you, they will tell yourself you are lovable. The same thing is applicable to this place. So replace I will never get out of this, because the weight of the debt can be so overwhelming that you feel like it will take only Jesus to come and save you. So now you tell yourself that you can take small steps today that will add up. Use affirmations, I've mentioned it, plus reality-based optimism. Good enough, I highlighted that because some people don't know how to put optimism and reality, don't know how to balance it. So use reality-based optimism. All your I can and I shall and I will should be working towards reality. Okay, let me reuse this scripture. I don't know, please, I'm sorry, I don't know how many persons that are Christians on the call. I'm a Christian. So reality, when they say faith without work is dead, I don't know what you understand by that, but then it's clearly something that has to do with reality based on optimism. So I know that I'll be a graduate and I'm not writing jam to even go into school. Maybe they will dash me the certificate. Am I that important? Or I know that I will pay this 5 million I'm owing. And then you're not even working towards paying the 5 million. You've not even bought, you've never, okay, you cannot do high interest savings. You've never opened a high interest savings as if to say at the end of the year you pick the percentage and pay. No. You've not even bought what's this thing called? This saving box. As a native name, I'm trying to remember. You've not even bought the saving box and kept to say, okay, let me be putting 1K or 500 inside. You've not done anything. You're just using affirmations. It will not work. So your affirmations plus reality-based optimism. Work towards your affirmation and work towards your optimism. So the next there is aim. Acknowledge your emotions. Acknowledge your emotions. You cannot run away from it. Acknowledge your emotions. Normalize feelings of shame, guilt, fear. Normalize it, say it as it is. I feel guilty. I'm ashamed of myself. I'm so scared I cannot say it as it is. Then the way you can help yourself out, or the way you can actually catch those emotions, is by journaling. Yeah, journaling simply means writing it the way you feel about it. Write it the way you feel about it. You don't need a fanciful journal to do that. A wedding journal that they dashed you last week Saturday can serve as your journal. Go for therapy or have safe conversations, reduce secrecy and isolation. I don't even know how I managed to put that therapy there, because most times when people that are in debt come for therapy, they cannot pay for therapy. They will tell you, because they are trying to save, so they cannot pay for therapy sessions. I don't know how much others charge, but they wouldn't want to pay for therapy sessions. So best bets, have safe conversations. When you have safe conversations with people you trust, friends, family, loved ones, well-wishers, it reduces the level of secrecy and isolation you place on yourself. So that way, the chances of you falling into depression and ending up with completed suicide is lower. Limit avoidance. Open the bills. Track your spending daily or weekly. Track your spending daily or weekly. Use financial apps or debt trackers. That way you progress visibly and then reduce anxiety. Now let me help you. If you don't know the financial apps to use or the debt trackers to use, or which sites to use to track your spending daily or weekly, open the notes. There's an app on your phone known as Notes. They tag Notes. For some persons, open your WPS, go to new documents, blank page. You spend 20 naira, I bought sweets, you write. I bought this, you write. I was too excited, I paid somebody's transport, you write. So that way you know how much by the end of the week, you know that you've already spent 20,000, not the 50,000 that you're owing. So you know what to do the next week. The next, that's the M there, is manage stress holistically. Manage stress holistically. That is body, spirit, soul. Manage stress holistically. Body, spirit, soul. So use mind-body techniques like breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxations, mindfulness. When you tell people mindfulness, they really don't. When you tell people mindfulness and meditation, they really don't understand. But sometimes it's what we do all the time. I think it's not cramming. For example, if you pick a scripture, if you pick your Bible and then you pick a scripture, let's say you pick John 3:16, and then you see, for God so loved the world, and then you sit on it and you're like, for God so loved the world. You start thinking on it, trying to make meaning of it. You are meditating on it. And then mindfulness is simply you just being in the present. People think mindfulness is very easy until you tell them to do it. Then you will know that your mind wanders faster than a running tap. So meditation and mindfulness is really, 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 really important, because you have to stay on your thoughts. Then on your lifestyle, that is because we're talking about managing stress holistically. Exercise is very, very important. Exercise routines are very important. Sleep hygiene is very important. Healthy diet is very important. Sleep hygiene, if you have a poor sleep hygiene, it will ruin a lot for you. I mean, physical health wise and mental health wise. And you will not just be battling death, you'll not be battling insomnia and other sleep related disorders. So healthy diet, manage and ensure that the things you're eating falls within the range of what we call healthy, not consuming junk and saying any and make I see something chop. That's not what we are saying. We're saying eat healthily. And then therapy or support groups when needed. I've already mentioned that sometimes therapy is usually difficult to access because of the finance involved. So you could make use of support groups. If you know people that their own is they love borrowing, and then they have a group and they are doing well, ask them how do you come out of it? How do just look for people to help you, encourage you, so you don't end up killing yourself, because it could actually be very, very devastating. So economic wisdom and mindset shifts. Rethink debt and consumption. So consumer mindset is buy now, pay later. Consumer mindset, buy now, pay later. Wealth mindset, plan now, own later. Somebody once said, if you really think you want to get something, sleep over it or allow the day to pass through at least for 24 hours. Then think if that thing you wanted to buy is actually really urgent, or you just felt like having it or buying it. So consumer mindset, buy now, pay later. Then wealth mindset, plan now, own later. The next day is shift from short-term to long-term thinking. Delayed gratification. This is something that is gradually we are losing that. I don't know if I will call it skill right now. Delayed gratification. Small sacrifices today, financial freedom tomorrow. It's something we should practice, delayed gratification. So you don't end up blowing everything that comes up at once. Thinking, I don't know if you're blowing it up because you want to die in the night or you want to die in the morning, forgetting that you have a longer time to stay. And then compound interest works both ways, in debt against you versus in savings for you. Remember when I was talking about interest, I said some fintech companies and then banks, once you exceed when you're supposed to pay, they increase your interest. And so sometimes you end up paying compound interest and you've not even gathered the main money. Only compound interest is like half of the money you borrowed. So compound interest works both ways, in debt against you, in savings for you. Now, let me just chip in this. Okay, let me conclude by chipping. Build financial literacy. Read about personal finance. Attend seminars. Use free online tools like this seminar you're attending. I think it's free. So read about personal finance, attend seminars, use free online tools. All the free things available to you to learn or build financial literacy. Use all of them. Then conclusion, breaking free isn't just about paying off what you owe. It's about reclaiming your peace, your power, and your future. I'll take that again. Breaking free isn't just about paying off what you owe. It's about reclaiming your peace, your power, and your future. And so I wanted to say something before I move to the conclusion. If you are owing or you're in debt that you pay or you're supposed to pay in 3 years or in 5 years, and you know that you have good inflow of income, I would suggest you open a high interest savings account. So when you open a high interest savings account, you put in 1 million or 2 million, you know that at the end of per annum, you're sure of getting 17%, 15%, 12%, depending on the bank you are opening the account with or creating the account with. So that's you don't even need a financial advisor to do that. Just walk into any bank, tell them you want to open a high interest savings account, and then the customer service providers there will put you through on what you are supposed to do and what is obtainable. Ask all the questions. That is why they pay them. They will answer all your questions. So if you have a debt that maybe you took it for business or something, and then you have to pay in 3 years' time or in 5 years' time, I think that will help you a great deal. And then you could also try mutual funds and several others. I mean, because you are saving towards the debt. Why I'm not mentioning stocks and forex and all those plenty things people do is because there are high chances of the risk is higher than these other ones. So imagine you carrying your $1 million and put in crypto, and then it can crash the next day. The depression that will hold you, even therapy will not solve it in 2 weeks. So in all of this I've said, I'm believing that I made sense to all of us. I'm believing I made sense. So at this junction, I would open the floor for questions. Remember, I said questions on what we discussed, questions on general mental health conversations, clinical or subclinical concerns, and then we are good to go. Once again, thank you, organizers of the Financial Wellness Summit or Conference. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much, ma. Let's appreciate her by sending me our emojis. She has really done justice. Thank you very much, ma. If you gained
Thank you.
value tonight, kindly type I gained value tonight. I gained value tonight in the chat box. I'm expecting our responses. She has done a justice to clarifying the thin line between incurring debt and our emotional health. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have a few questions to ask you, if you don't mind. Can I go on?
Please go ahead.
All right. I've noticed that most people live on debt, good debt actually, especially our parents. They take loans to send their children to schools and to just build a good life for their children. And there is this particular habit that is setting in them, especially when the children are aware that okay, my parents loaned this money to send me to this thing. And in a way, unconsciously, those children are now getting into that circle of incurring debts. What strategies do you think the children can take to prevent this, even when they know that okay, there is this set of cycle that is about to happen again?
Okay, so let me answer it from this part. I think all of us on this call are Africans, and if we are not, I think basically human race is the same thing. So there's what we usually call generational curse. Me, I call it generational patterns because I don't believe that I'm cursed. So patterns in the sense that everything that we have, in fact, I've been thinking about it recently. Most of the things we call genetically or hereditary or whatever, some of them are behaviors we just copy socially. And so one of them is what you just explained. Your dad took good debts, and then you just feel like you can, leverage your needs. Maybe you just feel like it's a pattern, it's a choice. It's something that works for my dad, so it should work for me and all. I think the first thing is you having insights. And I mean insight is knowing that this thing is not sustainable. In fact, most of the parents that actually take loans to train their children in school and all of that, if you check very well, you realize that the children, especially the firstborn, let's say firstborn, secondborn, and all, they come out and they struggle to pay that loan. And some of them don't even pay. I mean, the parents, some of them don't pay their loan until they die. Some of them don't pay their loan. And so you see the children struggling to ensure that, they cover up for the loan. And then it creates a circle of poverty for them because instead of you to make progress, you just keep diminishing, you just keep, gathering money to send somewhere and all of that, which is not supposed to be so. So first of all, have insights, be aware. Ask yourself, what are the pros and what are the cons? If you come for clinic and you're a substance user, we'll tell you, write the pros and cons of substance use. So when you write, we'll not ask you the advantages and disadvantages, which one is more? The pros and the cons, which one is better? Which one is more? So that way you gain clarity firsthand. And so if your cons are greater than your pros, so you see clearly that you are just, moving gradually into a ditch. Then the next thing you do is now start working towards building to a certain level of financial security. Therefore, in a case where they borrowed that money to train you, or you're currently in school and then you realize that, this thing is not working, that's where you need to start working, thinking of what to do, either picking a skill or a craft or something you just have to start doing to ensure that you don't die or repeat that cycle with them. It is difficult, but you have to be very, very intentional. Otherwise, I tell you, you repeat, and that's how you repeat it and give it to your children and all. I think all these patterns are alike. I've seen a client who said he takes cannabis because he believes cannabis gives the father the right of leadership that makes his mom submissive to him, you know. So people, children, whoever, just pick patterns and then they just feel like, oh, that's the best thing to do and all. So first bet, have insights. What are the pros? What are the cons? Are these things sustainable? Are they not sustainable? Look at the family. All this, oh, it's good, it's good, it's good. After the good, has it helped us in any way? You know, and then you start working towards improving and making it better. If there are other areas, for example, let's say if your dad borrowed money to send you to Covenant University, and then your next sibling is coming up to go to university, you know that there are other universities that are cheaper than Covenant University. So you have to give advice where advice is needed. Now, instead of you to borrow 5 million or 20 million or 30 million to go to Covenant University, let's maybe even if we must even borrow eventually, let's borrow 400,000 and go to Unilag. It's still the same. If you want to study law, it's still law. The sense is in your head, it's not in the money. I don't know if I made any sense at all.
Yes, ma, you did. Thank you so much for the reply. Thank you very much. I understand. Please, if you have any question for our speaker, you can raise your hand and I'll call on you to ask. She has talked about debt. She has talked about how to manage debt, steps. She gave us practical steps on how to manage debt and also how to break free from the financial stress. She gave us the technique calm. So if you have any question concerning debt, you can raise your hands while she's here. Okay. While we are waiting for others to ask their question, I have one more question.
Okay.
Can I go on?
Please go ahead.
Okay. As youth and as youths who are just learning to build their financial life and whole, how can we avoid the financial stress lifestyle where we do not incur debts that really get a hold of us?
Please take that question again.
Okay. As youths learning to build our financial life, how can we avoid the financial stress of debt?
As youth trying to build your financial life, how can
Yeah,
you avoid
the
what the stress of what?
debt.
Okay, first things first, live within your means. Don't
Mm,
live above your means. First things first. Set your priorities right. Right. I know it's not easy, but then you have to set your priorities right. And so you don't pick other people's priority. I think it's common sense, basically. So
mhm.
if you don't have need to want to get a loan, you shouldn't get one. There are certain things that it's advisable for you not to even get a loan for. You know, very salient things that if you think about it, like I think it makes sense, it makes sense. But then it's really, really not sustainable. Let's take MTN and Airtel, for example. If you are out of data and you borrow 5,000 from MTN, and then you sub, in the next 1 week or in the next 2 weeks, the data is off. And you've not gathered 10,000 to buy another data. That means you need to borrow another 5,000. And so when you want to pay back, you need to pay back 10,000 without anything, both data and money, you will not see anyone. And so that means if you need to sub again, you have to recharge 5,000. That means if you don't want to borrow, you want to sub, you pay, you buy airtime of 15,000. So you pay off your log of 10,000 and then sub with 5,000. So each time you want to make decisions, you sit with decisions, allow your prefrontal cortex to work. You sit with it and ask yourself, is this sustainable? Is this something that can work? Is this something that cannot work? And even if it's going to work, how long can I chest it? I know it's not easy for us as Africans. And then if you're like say first son or first daughter, or certain things is actually it's actually sad to say, but then someone that is actually an expert in finance will tell you that certain things you should not do. Example, borrowing money to rent apartment for your family, borrowing money to pay school fees for somebody where you know you cannot cover it in at least 3 months. Getting in. So these things look like it's something you should do, but then at the same time, there are big financial risks that you shouldn't even venture into. So yeah, get your
That's
priorities right. Live within your means.
all right. Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome.
Please let's appreciate her by sending in our emojis. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
I think I think
Okay.
some other persons don't have questions. I said you could ask mental health related, you could ask clinical, you could ask finance, particularly what I thought, and then
Yeah.
others. But then if we don't have any, then I'll beg to take my leave if we don't have any of such questions.
If you have any question, can you raise your hand? I've asked mine, so it's your turn based on mental health, finance, debt. According to what she has taught us today, you can signify, and she's ready to answer. Okay, then we'll take that as a no. Thank you so much, Ma, for thank you so much, Ma, for this session. Programs at Mentally, Mrs. Evelyn Ogundiran. Please let's appreciate her and welcome her here.
Good evening, everybody. Please confirm if you can hear me. Can you hear me first? Please
Yes,
confirm.
yes, I can hear you. I can hear
All
you.
right. Thank you so much, Alexandra. Thank you so much for that wonderful session. It was a great time learning both yesterday and today, and also time indeed. And I feel like this is really something important that we need to learn at this moment, right? We need to start breaking some like the speaker yesterday was saying about hereditary, financial wealth and all. So we need to start building some financial stability for ourselves. In fact, more for our children and generations to come. I thank you so much for that wonderful session. So yes, so this is day two. I do a great ride, and am hoping that I will see everybody tomorrow. So the session continues tomorrow, and tomorrow is going to be the last day. So please, as you share the flyer on the group, please help us share with people, send to your friends and colleagues, invite them for the session. We want to see them tomorrow. We want to have a fuller room than this tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining tonight. I think I will just pass the baton my back to Precious. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Miss Evelyn, for that. As she has said, tomorrow is the last day, and trust me, it will not be short of value. It will also you come with your friends, tell your colleagues, and come tomorrow. So thank you for joining tonight. Thank you, Miss Alexander, for tonight's session. It's been a lovely evening with you. And thank you everyone for taking out your time to join this session. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, everyone.